שומעים? שלום וברוכים הבאים לכנס לעסקים חברתיים, הכנס ששם את העסקים החברתיים והקואופרטיבים במרכז, ראשון מסוגו. אנחנו באנו לעשות לכם שבוע מרשים, מרגש, עם המון תוכן, שבעיניי ובעיני כל מי שהפיק את הכנס הזה יחד איתי, הוא הכי רלוונטי עכשיו בתקופה של הקורונה. אני רוצה להגיד תודה גם לבית הוועד שמארחים אותנו כאן, ובאמת כל יום אנחנו נתארח בעסק חברתי אחר כדי להביא את הבשורה מבפנים. אני רוצה להגיד תודה גם לשותפים הראשונים שלנו, שהם באמת העסקים החברתיים הירושלמים, שעזרו לנו להפיק את הכנס, שעזרו לנו לבצע אותו. אני רוצה להגיד תודה שנייה לעיריית ירושלים, שבלעדיה כמובן הכנס הזה לא היה קורה, ולקרן לירושלים, שהם השותפים שלנו בהפקה של הכנס. זהו, והחלטנו להתחיל את הכנס הזה עם הרגל הראשונה דווקא בסיפור של הקואופרטיבים, שהם באמת בבת עינינו, ואולי הדבר שאיתו אנחנו הכי הולכים מקדימה ושמים בפרונט. אנחנו היום נכיר קואופרטיבים מהעולם, יהיה לנו מעניין ומרגש, ותודה רבה שהצטרפתם.
אז שלום לכולם, איזה כיף לפתוח את כנס העסקים החברתיים פה אצלנו בבית הוועד. אני ממש מתרגש, שמי ליאם, אני אחד ממקימי בית הוועד. אני רוצה לאחל לנו שיהיה לנו כנס מלמד ומקדם לשאר העסקים החברתיים. זה באמת דבר מדהים בעיניי, כל עניין הקואופרטיבים, ואני באמת מאחל לנו המון הצלחה לכולם, ושיהיה כיף. וזהו, מאחל לכם הרבה בריאות לכולם, במיוחד במצב הזה. בחזרה אליכם, עומרי ויפעת, תודה שאתם פה.
אז שלום לכולם, אני שמחה מאוד להיות כאן, שמי יפעת סולל, אני יושבת ראש ברית הקואופרטיבים לצדק חברתי, כלכלי וסביבתי, ואני שמחה לפתוח את האירוע הזה. Hi, I'm very glad to be here today. My name is Yfat Solel. I'm the chairperson of the Israeli Cooperatives Alliance for Social, Economic and Environmental Justice. And we're very, very happy to open this session about cooperatives or inspirational cooperatives from around the world. Of course, this is the week of social businesses, and cooperatives are the basic social businesses, but are more than that because they're democratic businesses, which is the most important feature. And I would like to open with a few words from the president of ICA, of the International Cooperative Alliance in Europe, Mr. Dr. Jean-Louis Bancel.
Good evening, everyone. Here is Jean-Louis Bancel, the chair of Cooperative Europe. I'm glad to be with you for this special time in Jerusalem for connecting people around cooperatives and social spirit. I want to tell you that it is important that during difficult time we can keep together with this cooperative spirit around the world. This is why I'm joining you on the behalf of the Alliance in Israel, and of course to feel as a member of the worldwide gathering, which is in Europe, but also in other parts of the world. In this difficult time all around the world, we want to keep together, we want to keep our spirit. I wish you all the best for this important moment. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you as soon as possible. Good evening.
Hi, Well, we would like to open the session of the young and inspirational cooperatives. Let's just begin. I would like to invite one of our guests, Mr. Rich Jensen from Resonate.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Good. It's very gratifying to be with you. I'm reaching to you from Seattle, Washington, which may indicate something about our cooperative. So we are a music streaming cooperative. You can find us at resonate.ccop, Resonate Co-op, and follow along. Music streaming has been somewhat notorious over recent years. I'm sure folks who may have been aware that there's a lot of questions about how the music business is handled. And there's some very famous platforms that are having some objections from artists saying they're not getting enough money from those platforms, etc. And this is not entirely new this year. This has been going on for several years. And of course, there are many reasons we could get into why the music business has been difficult for artists. Our organization was founded by Peter Harris, who is a developer in Berlin, who was an enthusiast of co-ops, and also a technological enthusiast, and also someone who cared a great deal about music, and had an idea for a music streaming service where, based on what folks here, if you know anything about co-ops, I encourage you, or maybe you don't, but there's an interesting website called Fair Shares. I'll put it in the chat here, but it's just fairshares.coop, and it's a model of what is called a multi-stakeholder cooperative, and it's been developed by some business people in Britain, but the concept, among other things, was to create a democratic business association where the producers, those who bring the product, those who purchase the product, those who work in the enterprise, those who conceive of and found the enterprise, and then also those who support and invest in the enterprise, all participate in one organization. So Peter, when he started his organization, had this concept in mind, where artists, active listeners, the people working on the platform, so software developers, would all be members in a platform cooperative fashion. And of course, folks may be aware of an organization called Platform Co-op, where for the last several years, some good people have been developing this concept. And now all around the world, there are thousands of organizations that share some of these technological principles of governance and the different stakeholders coming together. So in any case, our story, I know our time is short and I don't want to run too long, but to say something about our co-op, we ask active listener members to put in €5 a year to participate. And then that's if they wish to be involved in governance. If they simply wish to listen, the way we do our model is quite unique. And again, it's an innovation by our founder, Peter Harris. It's called Stream to Own. And it's a little counterintuitive, but it's basically when a user wants to listen, they put up €5 or so to get credits in a wallet, and then they've got that money, and they can go around and they pay for each stream that they listen to. But the price starts very, very low, 1/5 of a penny of a euro. And then it doubles when the second time you listen to the track, it doubles, and it doubles again and doubles again. And it happens that after 9 doublings, you get to what used to be about the price of a download, about 1.25 euros. So this creates a situation where it doesn't cost very much money for a user to drive around and in the site and explore music. And then as they find something they like, they continue to pay for it. And then at 9 iterations, or if they want, they can rush right through and buy the track at that time. Then they get to own the track in their personal library. They pay nothing else for it after that. And what's interesting is that when we do the math on average, because this is a behavioristic proposition, we don't really know what's going to happen. But now that we've got some history, the earning rate is 3 times the standard corporate payment. So that's very happy. So that's kind of the listener story and the user story. And on the artist side, it costs nothing. If you upload a track, you become a member. So you become part of the governance structure of our cooperative. And people can download. You have to have original music. You can't be putting up other people's music. But then you begin to earn immediately from these transactions. We take 30%, the co-op takes 30% for the platform. This 30% corresponds to the budget to build and run the platform. And then all the members, the users, the workers, and the artists collectively can determine where surpluses go, whether they're paid out as dividends or reinvested. And this really is one principal difference between the cooperative model and the typical corporate privately held model. And of course, that's what brings us all together. I think I'll just close on saying a couple of important things that, what motivate me personally. So I've been serving as the executive since Peter had a second child in the beginning of 2019, and had been working at this project very arduously, very hard for about 5 years. I come from an independent music background. That back in the day, I was a punk rocker, kind of in the first wave of the hardcore punk rock, about 1980. And I worked with an association called Sub Pop Records, which over the course of about 10 years migrated from being something of a cultural outlier to being associated with #1 music acts. So my perspective on culture is determined by this, that things can move from the fringe to the center very quickly. For many years now, I've organized my life by music that I hear, by people I meet through music. And I like to say that there's a vast minority of people who operate the same way. And if anything, this is really our purpose in this co-op, is to create a sustainable global community that's run in an egalitarian fashion, that's organized for those people who care about music, and particularly that we use technology in service of human beings. I could get into more about how music is an ancient thing, and long before there was commodification in a music business, music was an important part of social organization and cohesion. It's really a social accelerant. and I guess I'll close on by, I'm going to say one more thing, which is that recently we've been very lucky to pursue our values that we describe as digital dignity. And that is that digital spaces should be dignified places for human beings. And one of those requirements to be a dignified space is that our privacy is respected, and that there's not a power imbalance between the people using a platform and the people creating a platform. To this end, we've had the good fortune to get some research funding from organizations called Trust and ESIF Labs out of the EU to build what we're calling a community credentialing service, which by its architecture cannot be pooled and used against the users by selling it off to third parties, which is really the core business model of so many web-based organizations. With our community credential, I encourage folks to look into it. You can look at our website and we'll point you to it. But it will start to create a credentialing layer that not only works for our co-op, but works for all co-ops that want to use this same kind of service. And ultimately, I think that a music-based co-op is well suited for a kind of ground level cooperative layer worldwide for people to be able to work together under cooperative principles. And of course, to support artists are just human beings. They need the same things that any human being needs: food, shelter, access to tools, mobility, communications, these kinds of things. If those services are all cooperative, I think it'd be a better world. So we're using music in that way. And thank you for your time. I look forward to the other presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Definitely going to be a better world. And I think that the examples that we are bringing here today show that there are working alternatives to the neoliberal system that we are all so used to live within. And I think that in the art, music, businesses, there's a lot of exploitation, because people think that if you're an artist, then you would do the things that you like to do, that you want to do, whether they would pay you or not. So it's very easy to exploit artists, which brings me directly to our next cooperative initiative, ARA. So Gidi, please.
Hello, does everybody hear me? Yes, good, thank you. So my name is Gideon Smilansky. I'm a painter, and I'm part.
We hear you very poorly. Is there anything we can do about it?
I can hold the.
Oh, that's better, much better.
Shout.
Yay. Just hold it really close.
Okay, so I'll just start over. So hi, everybody. I'm Gideon Smilansky. I'm a painter. And I'm a part of Alfred, which is a cooperative institute for art and culture in Tel Aviv. I'm currently living in Berlin, and from here I'm directing, in a way, a different cooperative, which is part of the Alfred Institute, which is called the ARA, Artist Run Alliance. And we'll talk today a little bit about the Artist Run Alliance. So maybe I will try a screen share. Are we having a screen share? Not really.
Yes.
Yes. Amazing. Good. So the Artist Run Alliance is an alliance of self-governed, what we call Artist Run proto-cooperatives of artists. Artist Run initiatives come in all forms. They could be what is called here in Berlin, project spaces, alternative galleries, nomadic artist groups who are exhibiting their art in different places. Some of them could be experimental, some of them could be very mainstream, even, I don't know, museums and public spaces. And for those who do not know this field at all, I could just say that normally we tend to engage with contemporary art, either in institutions, everybody knows their local art museum. Maybe some people would go to a privately owned gallery, or, and that is the field that we're going to talk about today, artist-run initiatives. So it's really quite difficult, as I said earlier, it's quite difficult to define exactly what an artist-run initiative is, but I could just, you could read, of course, and I could generally say, well, it's when artists, and I'm talking today about visual artists, come together and decide to form their own platform. The platform, a lot of time looks like a gallery, but maybe a little bit of a strange gallery. It's not one of those white cubes that everybody visions when they think about an art gallery. It could be maybe a space that for some hours of the day people live in, and for some of other hours you could come over and view the artist's art. And there is even an artist-run initiative in containers going on ships from shore to shore, and when they arrive, some of the containers are just opening, and you see the art coming from different nations. And there are a lot of those kind of artist-run initiatives. We're talking about, from our knowledge, a lot more than 8,000 artist-run initiatives worldwide. And those initiatives are actually pretty influential because they are the grassroots. They are how a lot of artists start their career and also engage on a kind of personal level with the public. It's very different for an artist, if you think about it, just having your art shown or being the person who is doing the hosting. And those self-governed artist-run initiatives take upon themselves the idea of an artist as also a host, a person that you see that is taking charge of their own career and inviting the viewers to enjoy, hopefully, their art. And one of the problems, one of the main problems with artist-run initiatives, which is a worldwide problem, is that they're very, very local. Usually what you do, maybe you study art or you're engaged with art and you know several people and you have a common cause. So you get together and you form your artist-run initiatives. Maybe you start in a studio, and then when people come and it becomes more interesting, you hire, you rent a space, and so forth. But usually it's very local, very intuitive, like initiatives. And after working in this field for about 10 years and traveling to Berlin, which everybody knows is a very cool city with a lot of artist-run and experimental stuff, and you try to find it. Where are all those artists? Where are they working? What are they doing? You find that it's very difficult to locate it because, as I said earlier, it's very local. And then what we decided to do 3 years ago, I think, Yfat, 3 or 4 years ago, is to open up a platform which tries to identify and map all the artist-run initiatives worldwide, and trying to make a field which is built from all those little artist molecules hovering about in this big aquarium, to make it cohesive, to make it into a kind of a genuine field where people can exchange knowledge, help one another, exchange opportunities, shows, of course, but also debate about how to form and how to model an artist-run space. So just for example, this is already a screenshot from the platform itself. I am now in Berlin, and you could see we have all those artist-run initiatives about, and you see when you go into the platform, you could identify what are those initiatives doing, what kind of opportunities do they have for other artists? Is it maybe a residency or an exhibition? And here is even an art fair, and of course the public events for the wide public. This is how it looks when you enter, let's say, the Alfred Institute, which is my mothership. You have an opportunity to tell your own story. I mean, we invite the artists to tell their own story, to really use this platform as a kind of very agile, dynamic base. If I didn't say earlier, it's all user-generated content. It means that those artists upload their stuff. And yes, this is another initiative. You can see this is an event. So the idea is, and how do I get, okay, I'll try to do something like this. This is the platform itself. Do you see my screen? No? Yeah, okay, good, thanks. So this is the platform itself. And really it is a kind of cooperative for cooperatives. I mean, we have more than 2,000 artist-run initiatives currently registered to the platform. And like on a monthly basis, we see that we have about between 50 to 200 cooperatives that are either exchanging opportunities among themselves, shows, residency programs. A lot of times they enhance their members by inviting new members to the platform. And of course, it also caters for a very important thing is, just inviting the wide public. I mean, when it's difficult to, you open your own space, you sit in your nice cooperative gallery and you want people to come, right? But when you're very local and a lot of time you don't have money and you don't have the right tools, it's difficult to locate you. And so we see a very high engagement just from the wide public who are looking for art in Berlin. So here. I'm just taking you through the current events. And of course, we have our main cities. I'm just hoping there are some artists in the crowd. Good. So thank you for your time. This is the Artist-Run Alliance. You're very welcome just to pop in. It's artistrunalliance.org. Explore and enjoy alternative artist-run initiative. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Gedi. I would just add that it's also a very good platform to use when you're a tourist. And I've used it in places I visited, and it's a great way to find those interesting galleries, not the very populated and commercial ones, but the really interesting artistic ones. So use it. It's a great platform.
תודה רבה, גידי. בתור הפסקה קטנה בין לבין, אנחנו במהלך השבוע שעבר הצגנו בדפי הפייסבוק סרטון, טיזר קטן ממה שאנחנו עושים ולקראת הכנס של 45 שניות, ועכשיו אנחנו הולכים לחשוף את הסרטון המלא. ככה בין הקואופרטיבים מהעולם אנחנו מציגים גם את העסקים החברתיים והקואופרטיבים שלנו בירושלים. מאוד גאה להציג את הסרטון הזה, שילווה אותנו כל השבוע.
בית קפה בית הוועד, שנמצא בעצם בתוך בניין היסטורי.
חנות בגדים יד שנייה.
בגדים, אביזרים, מוצרים ומשחקים יד שנייה.
ייצור של דברי אומנות, קרמיקה, זכוכית ותכשיטים.
אולפן הקלטות, חדר חזרות, חברת הגברה.
יש פה סיורים, סדנאות, קורסים, כנסים, ואפילו בר מצווה וחתונות.
חנות לאומנות מקומית, חדרי כנסים, חדרי רזידנסי, חברת תוכנה, היא בבעלות שיתופית של כל החברים בה.
אנחנו מתעסקים בהעלאת מודעות ובמניעה של בזבוז מזון.
בעסק שלנו מועסקים אנשים עם מוגבלות, וזה היתרון החברתי של העסק בנוסף לקהילה.
בני נוער שמגיעים אלינו זה בני נוער בסיכון, נפלטו בדרך כלל ממסגרות חינוכיות.
אז החבר'ה שעובדים פה זה תלמידים מי' עד י"ב, שהם בעצם, זה עובד קצת כמו קואופרטיב.
ואנחנו מפעילים את המקום כפלטפורמה מקצועית, קהילתית, אומנותית וכלכלית למען יוצרים בעיר.
ובעזרת הפלטפורמה הזאת גם לקדם קהילתיות, חינוך בשכונה, שיתוף פעולה בין עמותות ומרכזים קהילתיים בעצם, ולחבר בין כל תושבי בית הכרם וליצור קהילה חדשה.
אצלנו הם בעצם מקבלים את התמיכה הקהילתית, את הליווי, את האהבה, ואנחנו מקבלים אותם כמו שהם, ורותמים באמת את כל אחד את המעלות שלו לטובת העסק.
זה לא כמו עסק רגיל, שזה תחרות, ביחד, כל זה שיתופי, וזה מה שמדהים בזה.
אני מרגיש עם החברים של הקואופרטיב, שהם שותפים שלי לא רק לעסק.
תחושה של קהילה, תחושה של משמעות, תחושה של שיתופיות, זה דבר שאנשים צמאים אליו.
פה אנחנו בעצם ממציאים את הכלכלה העתידית, שבה אנשים ילמדו, כן, לחזור להשתמש במשאבים שיש סביבנו, במרחבים, בגגות.
אני חושב שבסופו של דבר, האחים שבאמת מובילים אותנו הם התעסקות בקיימות, עירוניות ירוקה יותר, בחיים משותפים, בחיים שהם דואגים אחד לשני בתוך המרחב שבו אני נמצא, ועסק חברתי בסופו של דבר מתנקז ממש לדברים האלה.
ומעבר לזה, היצירתיות שלנו מאפשרת לנו בעצם להמציא את המודלים שלנו, לשפר אותם, כך שהם יהיו באמת יותר יציבים כלפי כל המשברים העתידיים שעוד נכונו לנו.
ובאמת אחרי שפתחנו, אחרי הסגר הראשון וגם אחרי הסגר השני, ראינו איך אנשים מחפשים להגיע חזרה לפה, לקהילה שלנו, שבנויה פה ביחד.
ועסקים חברתיים לוקחים בדיוק את הרעיון הזה, שזה גם עסק, אבל לפני הכל יש את הערכים ואת הקהילה. וזה בדיוק הסיבה שעסקים חברתיים מצליחים איפה שעסקים אחרים נכשלים.
חוץ מלרוץ אחריך, לרוץ אליך, לקרוא אליך, אבא לאבא טוב.
So we're back, and thank you for this lovely short picture. We've been discussing in the past few years a lot of what they call sharing economy, which of course most of its uses in the past few years are not shared at all, but just capitalist enterprises using platforms. And we have been discussing several platform cooperatives already this evening, but I think that one of the interesting enterprises that created an alternative to what they call sharing economy is Airbnb, which of course is an alternative to Airbnb. So I would like to invite Jonathan Reyes from Airbnb to tell us about this very, very interesting, well, projects.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Very good.
Okay, hi everyone, thank you very much for this invitation. And well, yeah, I will tell you now a bit about our model and about how Airbnb Co-op works, and I'm really curious about if we can have later a debate. Well, I will share my screen now. 1 second. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Well, we, as you introduced, we started as an answer to a problem that we, the different co-founders of the project, were living in our cities, no? These problems, you probably know them already, and they were all these issues related to the impact that the so-called sharing economy platforms were creating in our cities, in many of the most touristic cities around the world. And there are problems in terms of extractive economies. So you know that most of the revenues are held in few hands regarding this kind of models. The loss of identity and the gentrification and touristification of our city centers, no? And so the local displacement that these kind of dynamics were creating in many of our cities. And there are the numbers there to talk about this. These are the numbers of, for example, the city of Barcelona, where the rental price has risen 7% in the last years. And one of the most important numbers for me is the second one that shows that in the Gothic district, one of the most important historical districts of Barcelona, the population has the 63% of the population has left the city. So this area of Barcelona. And the numbers also show that most of the owners that were using these kind of platforms in the city center were multi-owners that owned at an average of 5.2 apartments that were listed in this kind of platforms. So as you can see, we are not talking here about real home sharing, but about other kind of business, no? On the other side, we have another very important number, which is that the 87% of travelers, they say that they would prefer to travel in a more sustainable way, according to this Booking.com survey. So we have a lot of people that would prefer to travel in a more sustainable way, even if they have to pay more for it. But what we found is that there was not a real alternative platform. So from the very beginning, I was in Amsterdam, living in this moment when we started thinking about the project and about creating an alternative. But we discovered that there were people also in Barcelona, in Venice, in Bologna, even in Canada, that they were also thinking about a similar project. So we decided from the very beginning to merge all our ideas and start from the cooperative approach since the very beginning. So we decided to create a global cooperative and start building a real alternative to the current sharing economy platforms. So what is Airbnb? We say that it's a social booking and crowdfunding cooperative platform that aims to limit the negative effects of tourism, but amplifying its positive impact. We really think that tourism is not the problem, but the current model and the way we have been managing tourism till now is the real problem. So we are proposing an alternative that is based in 3 pillars, which are cooperativism, involvement of local communities, and sustainable tourism. And I will explain them now in depth. When we talk about cooperativism, well, we really mean it. As I said, we are a cooperative. And we decided to be a cooperative, first of all, to be independent, because we, of course, have investors, but their vote is limited to the 33% of the total of the votes of the assembly. So most of the decision-making capacity remains in the workers of the cooperative and in other kind of partners. And we are also promoting a platform cooperative model that fosters a more democratic governance where other kind of partners and stakeholders inside our ecosystem can take part in the decision-making of the cooperative. Our second pillar is responsible tourism. So the very first thing we want to do is to reduce the negative impact that tourism has in housing, in the access to houses that locals have. So we have our one host, one home policy. We work from transparency and collaborate with local authorities to make sure that all our hosts are legal. And we promote a peer-to-peer reputation system that help us making it visible those hosts or those guests who travel in a more sustainable way. And finally, and this is the most important thing for us, the positive impact on local communities. Through Airbnb, what we do is to develop local economies, and we do it in 3 different ways. The very first way we do it is by co-funding social projects in every city where we are present with half of our revenues. So for every booking you make as a traveler, you give half of the commission you pay to fund a project in the city you are visiting. The other way we do it is by sharing part of our revenues also with local partners who help us developing Airbnb in their city. So we create local employment there where we are present. And finally, we also are trying to create what we call sustainable tourism ecosystem. So networks of local businesses that share our values and that can offer their services and products through our platform. So this is our model. I think you can see here how it works. The guest pays the booking price, but to the booking price, we add the 15% of commission, and this 15% gets split into 2 parts. Half of it goes to fund community projects in the place where the guest is traveling, and the other half goes to Airbnb.com. But this one is also split in 2 parts. One goes to fund the local partner work, and the other one goes to fund the global platform. So what we promote is basically to leave most of the value in the local community. And also talking about impact on local communities, we really think in the importance of creating the on-site link. So we always say that through our local communities and these local partners I mentioned, we add the human technology to our digital technology, which is the platform. So it means that when you travel to a Airbnb.com destination, you always have a local community who receive you and who help you traveling in a more sustainable way in the city. Well, the structure of the project is simple, but at the same time it's quite complex. We are trying to evolve to a multi-stakeholder cooperative, as Rich introduced at the beginning. So we are a global cooperative based in Bologna, but we have, as I mentioned, a global network of local partners who can be part of the cooperative and bring Airbnb to their city. So this network of local communities, as I mentioned, these local partners, they have a double mission. They support us on one side, creating a local community, and on the other side, they support us creating the local business. This is super important because one of the most important things of Airbnb is that the local communities can define how the platform works in their city. So for example, we have the case of Venice, where they said, okay, it's really nice this idea of one host, one home. It's really nice this idea, of course, of being legal and being compliant with what the municipality is saying. But we as a local community would like to add an extra policy. We just want local residents, so people who has been living in the last years in this city and who are registered in the city, just them can be the hosts of Venice in Airbnb.com, because they wanted to avoid big investors who buy a lot of apartments and put them in other platforms. So this was an additional policy that we put in Venice and that defines how the platform works in this city. And this happened in every single destination where we are present. So this is a crucial mission when creating the local community. And then on the other side, they support us making some marketing and commercial activities in the destination. So basically, in every local node where we are present, we have these stakeholders, these actors. We have the ambassador, who is the referent person who supports us developing the node. We have other local partners who support the ambassador in doing this task. And then we have the community projects who get funded through the platform. And then we have collaborators and citizens in general who can support us in the local node. Talking about the product, you can see that we are already present in 9 pilot cities where we are testing the model. And well, the platform is really similar to other ones you may know, but with a very big difference. Well, you can see, you can search by city, you can book a place, but the big difference is that once you have booked a place, you can decide which local project to fund. And after doing so, you can, of course, also go and visit the project or participate in the local community activities. So you have the real rooted experience through the platform. And well, beyond the short-term rentals, we are already trying to build a fair alternative for the whole tourism industry. So a 360 degrees alternative that offers not just the short-term rentals, but also fair hotels, campings, even the midterm, and other lines like fair experiences, fair tours, or other kind of services we are implementing now. So the idea is to really offer a full experience from a fair perspective, no? And well, in this just a roadmap, we are, as I mentioned, present in 9 cities, but we are currently working with more than 30, and we hope during the following months make bigger numbers once the COVID situation, of course, ends. But we are already working with partners, and in the following years, we will implement the rest of the lines, as I mentioned, the fair experiences, fair hotels, etc., and expand our presence to other countries and cities. And well, you may have heard about us before because we have had some presence in the media. But for us, it would be awesome to also be in your country. We have not presence there, and it would be really awesome if some of you would like to join us. So thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Apparently you didn't hear me. So thank you, Jonathan. It was very, very interesting. We're sitting now in Jerusalem, which has a problem with Airbnb, but I myself am from Tel Aviv, and we have a huge problem with Airbnb. So I think this is a great idea for us to start a project of Airbnb in Tel Aviv, as you know, as COVID-19 will leave us. So thank you for this very, very, very important cooperative. And well, I need to apologize to the people watching us because one of our one of our presenters apparently couldn't join us, and another one who was supposed to send a video, well, something is not working. So it seems like we have a whole panel of, guys. So it wasn't intentional. We were supposed to have women presenting, and I'm sorry to say that we're not going to have any this evening. But we have a lot of women cooperators, and of course, we're a major part of the cooperative movement. So next time, I apologize. I would like to move to our last presenter, whose cooperative deals with one of the most problematic issues that we are dealing with in our daily lives these days, which is data. You know, on each website we go on, they collect our data. This is something that we have absolutely no way to control these days, and who knows what they're doing with it. But there are alternatives, and we would like to hear about it from Rilan Piri.
Thank you. Nice to be here with you all. And yeah, I also apologize that my coworker Revati is not able to join us because this is really her passion and her core area of expertise. And I know she would love to be here with you all to talk more about, especially on the data side of cooperatives. But it is certainly a pleasure to be here with you all. And I will do my best in her stead to share our work. So I'm from Collab Cooperative. We're a tech worker co-op, transnational tech worker co-op. You could say that we're on the how to build the platform side of things in terms of thinking about how to organize tech worker labor in order to build out some of these solutions without kind of using the traditional capital sources or becoming beholden to venture capital. So this is kind of coming out of Silicon Valley in response to some of the unethical practices we've seen in the venture industry and how they control platforms in many cases and extract value from those who use them. So with that, I'm going to give you a quick tour about Collab Cooperative, and I hope this is helpful and interesting to you all. So Collab, as I mentioned, is a transnational worker-owned technology co-op. So we started as just a scrappy band of freelancers coming together and have grown over the past decade to become what we hear from our peers is the largest tech worker co-op in the US, and certainly one of the larger ones in the world as well. So we've developed a cooperative platform known as Up and Go, which like Airbnb, you may have heard of the Up and Go platform in the news a bit, New York Times, Wired Magazine. It's one of the more successful platform cooperatives in the United States right now. It's primarily based in New York City, but moving to other geographic regions. So we came together under the notion that, well, technology, if we're going to change the world for the better, technology, as I think shared with all of the folks on this panel, technology is going to play a central role. And so we need to learn to kind of move beyond the conventional patterns of how tech workers work together and in order to form a cooperative. So as I mentioned, so we're a transnational worker-owned technology cooperative. We have member owners in Europe, in the Asia Pacific region, India, and in the US. And we would love to see whether it's a worker owner of Collab in Israel or you all forming your own tech worker co-ops who we collaborate with. But we're very excited about how deep you all are in terms of your technical expertise and the idea of that extending into tech worker co-op models. So some of the organizations that we've worked with over the years, everything from our the highly esteemed cooperator, the International Cooperative Alliance, to the Democracy at Work Institute, to the Democracy Collaborative, to the leading kind of cooperative think tanks in the United States, to major academic institutions, Stanford and University, Cornell. So quite diverse list of peers and partners, but all joined together through the idea of using technology in some way to better the planet, better our societies. So our mission is to provide self-governing, diverse, international cooperative workplace, to create excellent technical solutions, to use participatory approaches, to work with visionary partners like yourselves, like our highly esteemed colleagues on this panel, and together to work towards a more just and sustainable planet. So who we serve, we fundamentally work with mission-driven organizations and businesses. We work to provide the technical solutions behind the sense of purpose and altruism, and to deal with those thorny issues as was raised around how to manage, for example, data in some of the platforms that we're building, with the tremendous responsibility that comes from our users using the platforms that we're building. So some of the advantages that we've seen of being a tech co-op in particular, and some things that that we'd like to encourage folks to consider when looking at how they might structure their business. In the tech industry, we see a lot of people kind of jumping from this business to that business. We've been able to keep a consistent crew of folks working together internationally, locally, building strong, lasting, beautiful relationships, warm relationships over a decade in an industry that's quite ephemeral. And sharing, a sense of passion and innovation that's common in the tech industry, and yet brought together by this shared sense of commitment to solidarity economy. So some of the other aspects of our work, our practice that we think are exciting to consider in terms of moving into a tech co-ops as a model. This is collaborative, we're adaptive, we co-creative together on this transnational, local, global aspect. Again, we just really appreciate how work can bring us all together as it has done here on this panel. So we use free software whenever possible, taking the technical approach that's best to the situation. And we had on a recent panel where had some questions just, well, what do you all do? And well, the lifeblood of our work in terms of keeping us working together is, is technical, developing technical solutions that could be strategy, architecture, planning, managing, data strategies, data migrations, systems integrations, user experience research. So, these are the, the chisels and the hammers of our kind of trade practice in terms of building technical solutions for those who are driven by purpose, by a mission to find alternative, more just economies. So some of the key projects that we've worked on that we hope will be exciting to you also, I mentioned the Up and Go platform. So this is a cooperative platform that is, it's currently providing cleaning services in New York City. But what's quite unique about it is, contrary to the gig-based platforms, it's actually owned by the cleaners themselves. So it's a federation of cleaning co-ops who themselves own the technology platform and who are getting a much more just wage through the services that they're providing via the platform and keeping a higher percentage of their earnings. We're also working to build a climate modeling platform with the folks at Project Drawdown. There's Drawdown EU, Drawdown US, but it's oriented towards providing pragmatic solutions towards moving us to a point where we're actually pulling carbon back rather than pushing it into the atmosphere and reversing climate change. So building the engine that's driving those models for policymakers and for research scientists. And then a project which we hope will be interesting to you all is the Next Systems. It's a Patterns for Cooperative Networks and Associations. So it's a research article that we've done with the Democracy Collaborative around patterns for cooperating across countries, across societies, across cities. And there's some really interesting analyses of the different types of cooperative networks that can be built in addition to some of the really fascinating ones that we've heard of. And I found the Airbnb multi-stakeholder model to be fascinating. That's a good example of the types of patterns that we're looking at in this article. And just generally, as we also heard, the heart of cooperativism is really it's a people-powered business, even if it's a tech business. So for us, it's really important to prioritize human skills like nonviolent communication, taking time to sit in circle or virtual circles as we're doing here to share from the heart. To cultivate, practice of taking mindful moments together. So that's been for us one of the kind of secret sauces of our work and really what's I think allowed us to be successful. And so our invitation to you all, and again, thank you so much for the opportunity to share this time with you all, is that together, together we know there is a more beautiful, world possible that our hearts know is true. That we can regenerate the planet, that we can restore equity and justice through diverse and inclusive participatory processes, that we can transcend boundaries as we're doing here today across our various countries and cultures, and that we can together seed new growth through our shared imaginations, through shared process of co-creating. Through the ideals and values that we share by being a part of this global cooperative movement. So with that, we're certainly welcome any questions or reach outs as far as possible opportunities to work together, to collaborate. So this is Rylan, and as I mentioned, my coworker Revati Sharma sends her regards, and she would certainly also welcome your inquiries.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting presentation. We would open for questions if there are any from our audience. Anyone wants to ask something? One of the presenters? Anyone? Okay. And it seems most of our viewers are on Facebook, so they don't get the opportunity to ask questions. So thank you all of you for joining us, for presenting, for listening, for viewing this interesting session. I think that we've seen some very interesting projects, very interesting cooperatives here today that point towards an alternative future in which we are building different kind of economy, shared economy, democratic economy, fair economy. And this is something that is not just for the imagination. These are practical solutions that we can all be a part of, and we can all continue to develop and become part of new initiatives that go by the same lines ourselves. So if you have an idea to start a cooperative, give us a call. We'll be happy to help you. And as we said, this is only the beginning of a week of cooperatives and social businesses here in Jerusalem. And we hope you'll join us in the next sessions during this week. Omri?
Thank you for all the participants. I'll be back in Hebrew. תודה רבה גם למשתתפים, חברי הפאנל, וגם לקהל שלנו בבית. כמו שאמרתי בהתחלה, באמת קואופרטיבים הם בבת עינינו והעסקים החברתיים האהובים עלינו. אצלנו באגף לקידום עסקים, תחום עסקים חברתיים, הייעוד שלנו זה באמת שיהיו עוד קואופרטיבים בירושלים, עוד תושבי ירושלים שמשתתפים בקואופרטיבים, וכמובן עוד פעילות. מבחינתנו, אם יש פה יזמים בקהל שרוצים להקים קואופרטיב, קיבלו השראה מהמשבצת הזו ורוצים לקחת את זה לשלב הבא, בואו ניקח את זה לשלב הבא ביחד. עיריית ירושלים תומכת בכם, ויש לנו פה את יפעת, שגם אני אגיד לה תודה רבה. שותפה קרובה ויו"ר של ברית הקואופרטיבים הישראלית לצדק חברתי, כלכלי וסביבתי. אז זה באמת רק ההתחלה. אנחנו מתחילים את השבוע על קואופרטיבים. מחר יש לנו לוז מהמם וכיף למי שיצטרף אלינו. אנחנו נתחיל את היום מחר ב-2:30. אנחנו עושים את כל היום, אנחנו כל יום עושים ומצלמים אותו באמת מעסק חברתי אחר או מקואופרטיב אחר. מחר אנחנו נתארח בקואופרטיב בארמון החדש, הדנדש, אנחנו הולכים גם להשיק אותו בערב בארמון הנציב. אנחנו מתחילים ב-2:30 בהצגת תוכניות עבודה 2021, שזה יהיה שוב איתי. אני אציג את מהו בעצם עסק חברתי, למה אנחנו רוצים כאלה בירושלים, ומה אנחנו בעיריית ירושלים יחד עם השותפים שלנו ברחבי העיר מתכוונים לעשות כדי שיהיו עוד עסקים חברתיים וקואופרטיביים. המשבצת השנייה ב-4:30 היא עסקים חברתיים בירושלים החרדית, ביחד מי שהנחה את זה בצלאל שטראובר. יעשה לנו פאנל של עסקים חברתיים בירושלים החרדית, שאני אגיד שבאופן אישי אני מאוד מאוד מצפה לזה. אנחנו פחות מכירים עסקים חברתיים בירושלים החרדית, וזה באמת איזשהו פתח להכיר. המשבצת ב-6:30 מחיילים משוחררים לניהול עסק חברתי, שזה היכרות גם עם יזמות עסקית חברתית. אנחנו נארח שם גם את בית הוועד, גם את בארמון וגם את הבוידם. המשבצת הזו היא נקראת לחיילים משוחררים, אבל היא כמובן פתוחה ליזמים בכל גיל שרוצים קצת להכיר את עולם היזמות העסקית חברתית בעיר. והמשבצת האחרונה שסוגרת את היום, השקה של פאב קהילתי בארמון, השקה חגיגית וסדנת קוקטיילים. מי שעוד לא שמע על זה, בארמון הנציב אנחנו פותחים פאב קהילתי, קואופרטיבי, שיתופי, מתוך אוטובוס, במרפסת של מינהל קהילתי, הכי מרגש שיש. שם אנחנו נסגור את הערב. וזהו, שוב אני מודה ליפעת, אני מודה לכל מי שעסק במלאכה של להביא את הערב פתיחה הזה. תודה רבה, נתראה מחר.
תודה.
Bye-bye. Great to meet you. See you around, Gideon.
Thanks, everybody. And yeah, I hope to have a chance to talk with everybody again. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it was good. Good session. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
No. Okay. Thanks all.